I take 30 seconds and be greedy. I'm going to take it, and I'm going to welcome everybody to the Independent Investor Channel live stream. What an incredible week this has been. Happy 4th of July to everybody, honestly, from everybody who supported the channel for such a long time, and for everybody that's making their way to the channel for the first time. Welcome. This is a super unique opportunity to bring people together and congregate on a Friday evening. We always kick this off at 9 o'clock. I'm like Cal Ripken Jr. I'm like the Iron Man. I don't usually miss Fridays. So rest assured, you can be, I'm pretty reliable. And I provide this opportunity for a lot of different reasons. I think that people can review my content. A lot of it through YouTube is very one-sided, and I know people have all kinds of questions. How do I know that? I've been investing for a long time. I'm a student of investing, and I still have questions. So if I have questions about the investing game, I absolutely can acknowledge that there's beginning investors out there that have a lot of questions. And this is your opportunity to come in, rub shoulders with an extremely successful community. I think the value in that will not and cannot be understated. I think there's a lot of different people coming from a lot of different places, a lot of different employments. There's a few self-made millionaires in this group, and we don't back away from success. We actually encourage it, and we want to make sure that people have an environment to come into, drop their questions, as beginning of a question as it may be, as advanced as a question as you think it might be. Don't hesitate to drop that into the group here, and just be aware that we're trying to bring a lot more awareness to this topic, because I've found in my experience with investing, so many people want to reach out to somebody because they don't know a lot about it, and they want to answer a few structural questions for themselves. And YouTube is fraught with opportunities, some quite good, some maybe not so good. And I think relatively speaking, I think the YouTube community offers a very unique situation, in that if you can get on and find a genre or a niche on YouTube that you can communicate with, or you can relate with, maybe they're from the same age demographic, or maybe they're coming from the same cloth that you are, cut from the same cloth. And that's what it takes to get you on a wealth building program for yourself. That's great. But for you guys that make your way to the Independent Investor Channel community, I want to be crystal clear about what you get in this community. I spent the majority of my investing career with a financial planner, 4 to be exact. And I came to a realization about 7 or 8 years ago that I needed to go on my own and start self-directed investing. And so really this channel, when I started it 3 years ago, it was all about introducing the prospects of people taking control of their own money. And that's really what it comes down to. And a lot of people would scoff at that notion. A lot of people would say, are you crazy? You know, you have to have representation by a professional. And that may be true for certain people. This program is not for everybody. I certainly do everything I possibly can do to make sure that the people who are serious about becoming self-directed investors are provided every advantage and can acknowledge the benefits of self-directed investing that inherently exist in the program through cost savings. That's really the biggest thing. Tax protection is so much easier to get to for any investor. That's why we recommend the Roth IRA so frequently on the channel. That way, if somebody really screws up and starts their first account, trips and falls into that Roth IRA account, that they're achieving that tax protection, even though they may not understand fully the benefits of doing so. But the idea of wealth preservation going forward is one that I seemingly am looking to challenge an industry that is built around sharing in people's investment journey. and they share in that investment journey in a way that brings thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of people in under one envelope. And each and every one of those people who are seeking their exposure through that conduit are paying just a little bit. And those little bits add up, and they add up to a lot of money over time. So the real understanding and the niche on the channel here is to set goals. Okay, understand why you do that. The title of this video is Can Anybody Become a Millionaire? And I really want to touch on that as a theme tonight. I've had a few comments come through the channel as well, talking about some other attributes that may be necessary. Is it luck that will render millionaire results into the future? Is it skill? Is this a gig that you can outthink and outmaneuver and outwit everybody else? I think not. I think for me, if I was going to provide you some level of insight on how I approach this investing game, I think a lot of it has to do with perspective. And perspective in the investing game for me means taking 2 days off of YouTube to spend more time with family, to focus in on career, to come back strategically, and sharpen up the program, but leverage my time in a way that's conducive to my enjoyment of this topic. Case in point, was on a very extremely enjoyable live stream on Wednesday evening with my good friend Jason with JMac Investing. So shout out to Jason. I really appreciate it. That was a fun time for me. That was on his Educated Investor. And he's trying to build that channel up to do more live streams on. And I was glad to help him with that project. He asked, and I think I responded within a couple seconds and said, yeah, I'm down. I'm always down to go on and talk about finances. But perspective to me, making sure that this topic does not consume you. It can be a very addicting. That's something that you need to be aware of. And I think by being overly aware of the benefits of the stock market, I think it can have, there can be two sides to that coin. So the power of the stock market in time as a self-directed investor is going to become very apparent to each and every one of you guys who venture down this journey. There will be times where you're going to have to be humbled. There will times where you're going to have to be humbled on the positive side of the house when you do make a good trade or a bad trade or a good investment or a bad investment. But I think over the long term, if you do engage in this very, very rewarding and very underknown and underdiscovered option in investing, I think you're going to quickly come up to speed with the benefits of it. And that's what this is all about on Friday. It's really about drawing awareness to a topic that I am extremely passionate about. And I'm really looking to connect with like-minded people who are just as easily excited about wealth building for themselves. And when I say wealth building, I'm not talking about a direct replica of how I wealth build. I really think I do a fairly decent job of trying to get people to understand that they can empower themselves to do this in a manner that makes sense for themselves. If starting a 3-stock portfolio is what makes sense to you, starting with that first $500, okay, that's what makes sense for you. If taking that $10,000 and starting that, giving yourself that really nice head start in the stock market makes sense for you, well, how do you go about doing that? Do you just click on the most random YouTube channel you can find and find options? Do you go put your money to work with a financial planner? I think education and awareness is key when understanding the pros and the cons of your strategy. At the end of the day, the stock market in and of itself, the end game, stock, ETF, index funds, mutual funds, and bonds. Okay, I just broke it down for you in like 3 seconds. So why does everybody make it so difficult? It's because the strategy that you deploy to get to that end is completely erratic. It's all over the map. People want to deploy strategy in all kinds of different ways. Give up dividends to pay a financial planner. Pay a financial planner high fees because you don't seem to have the time to do it, right? So all these justifications and manifestations that either you make up or you're encouraged to engage in before you can get to that end product, I think the real key and takeaway on the Independent Investor channel is we try to get those barriers out of the way for new investors. Get those barriers out of the way and get you to that end product with as much exposure to the market as we can, with as much defense built into that for you and your families. I think that's the key, because once you get this thing right, there's going to be a lot of aspects of your financial plan that are going to be on autopilot, and they're going to work for you while you're doing other things. Okay. So with that opening, guys, I just want to take this opportunity to welcome everybody. I see a ton of familiar faces. I'd love to do some shout outs as well. I really need to welcome everybody to the channel. I do have Junior Stock Investor as well, who's a frequent guest of the channel, man. We're going to bring him on tonight. I love the opportunity. I will just say, like Junior's coming on tonight, the opportunity is open every Friday. I think I'm moving more to this style of engagement. It gives me the opportunity to pulse in with the community, and I love doing it, man. I really do. So I do periodically drop the link to the StreamYard in the conversation. So if you do have an inkling to come on and be a guest on the Independent Investor Channel live stream, this channel's quite frankly all about you guys, really is. And I love to hear some of the success stories, but I want to shout out, we got Rebecca Waters. Awesome. Great to see you. It's great to see you. Happy 4th to you. And then Sarah, who's a good friend of the channel as well. Very cool. Happy 4th to you and yours. Miss Bryant is in the group as well. Hope you enjoyed that information that I pushed to you through the Facebook group. I hope you found that was helpful to you. That's the whole idea. So very cool. I'm a 5-figure spender. So I've got Randy with Retire with Options, who's a good friend as well. The channel, happy 4th to you. Mr. Eric Weaver, good evening, he says. That's fantastic. Great to see you. And my good friend with Gen X, dividend investor as well. Fantastic, man. Congrats to you on the growth. You and Jason are doing quite well. It's nice. It's like watching a horse race every week, man. It's pretty cool. Jason's up ahead of you a little bit. So, but hey, man, all is good. I think that little bit of healthy competition is good for the group. I think if our passion is rooted in the right place, I think the more people who we can bring to the message, the better. And I'm all about it. I'm a fan of both of you guys, and it's kind of fun to sit back and watch y'all's progress as you guys build your projects out. And I think the prospects are scary to see where the projects are going to be in even just a year. But let alone, geez, might I say 5 years from now? I don't know. We can wait and see, but it's a lot of fun. I know everybody's working really hard to build their projects up, and we'll keep doing that, trying to push the envelope forward on this conversation. Happy 4th to Mr. Bob Wright as well. Great to see you, my friend. Very cool. And then Michael, he tipped me $2 before I even went live, man. So I appreciate that. That's very cool. Help us keep the lights burning a little bit longer on it. I love it, man. It's very cool. But I'm going to continue on the shout outs. I'm just going to scroll over. And I've got the Inked Investor as well, who's just awesome, man. Good friend of the channel. I'm going to claim a little bit of motivation to get the Inked Investor on the map, at least the motivation. I think he would agree with that, but it's great to see you, my friend. Happy 4th to you as well. I'm going to try to get these channel creators called out here this evening. Mr. Dan with the Ethos Investing, actually a good friend of the channel as well. So very cool. I'm about halfway through the thread here. I'm going to bring Junior Stock Investor on, and we can have a two-way conversation, and I can scroll through here and try to cherry pick some questions this evening. So let's see what we got. Junior, got me okay with audio, man?
Yep. Can you hear me okay, Ryan?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you okay. Yep. It's kind of spotty.
Hold on 1 second. Let me turn it.
Cool. Yeah.
All right.
Very
Can you
cool.
hear me now?
Yeah, I got you. It's pretty good. Yep.
Okay. I'm sorry. I had the AC on. It was pretty hot earlier.
It is, man. I spent all day today at the pool. Man, I highly recommend, if you want to beat the heat, man, just sit next to the pool all day. That'll take care of you. I tried to adjust this sunburn, man. Look at me. I'm like a lobster tonight doing this live stream, but that's
Yeah,
all
you got to
good,
be
man.
careful. It was 95 up here, so I'm sure
It was
down where you're at is pretty much the
Jesus,
same.
for real. Yeah, it was hot, man. We're gonna go to the beach this weekend.
Nice, man. I hope you enjoy your 4th of July weekend. Thank you for having me on tonight, and everybody on the live chat. I hope everyone enjoys their 4th of July weekend as well. A safe one too. So I don't know
Yeah,
if everybody has, barbecues or friends, family. I hope you guys have a safe and a happy 4th of July for everyone. So
you the man. Thanks, Junior. I appreciate that, man. Stock Ninja says I swiped right on the last tender profile. So thanks for sharing, Stock Ninja. That's rock on. So, yep. So invest in tender. There you go. That's what I got out of that, Mr. Stock Ninja, my friend. That's awesome, man. Very cool.
and
And then
I didn't get a chance. I wanted to shout out to J Mac too. I know it was a couple of weeks ago. For letting me on to the video that he had with Casey. That was a good conversation that night. So I want to thank him for that as well.
Was, man, and I know he appreciates it. I was on that just in the audience too, Junior. I thought it was a really good discussion, and just always trying to push the conversation forward. I just think that a small section maybe of the country is dominating the conversation right now, and I think there's a lot of rational people out there that are like, hold on a second, man. The people I know, that they acknowledge that there's an issue that's worth talking about, but not really to the extreme. I guess maybe it's the world that we live in. Every little thing with the media gets blown up 10x, and you look at it maybe with the lens and yeah, I don't know.
Well, that's where it comes down to is lens at the end of the day. But the great thing is when I come on and everybody here, it's awesome, and everybody's helping each other out, and it's just one of those things where it's a blessing to be in a live stream where it's not just about the money of just like
No.
It's all about fundamentals, quality, and even if some people don't take that, you still pushing the quality fundamentals, and that's what I appreciate you sending that message. So thank you again, and the market's been crazy. I mean, I was a couple days ago. Record highs for Microsoft, Amazon, of course, and Amazon's always going to be record highs almost every week.
Are you invested in Amazon?
I only have a fractional share of Amazon, so I don't have a whole share.
I have one and fractional, so I own a piece of it in the high growth, and then one share in the taxable broker long. So,
and it's one of those stocks where the cost basis for my fraction, I believe, was $1,796. So, in time, maybe down the road, I'll be able to get a full share. But if not, I'll just it's in my taxable. It's not even in my my traditional account. But with Facebook, well, I was gonna say with Facebook, with the ad boycotts, as a first-time investor, I was so excited for all the noise. I wanted more negative noise because it was going down. And it didn't reach my cost basis, and then just shot right back up again.
Nah. They're the cleanest balance sheet, highest growth, but their growth and value, to be honest with you, because I think the attractive price is what sets Facebook apart, as well as their additional properties is worth it. I just want to shout out to JMac Investing. He tripped and fell and thought we were in one of his live streams there for a second, and everybody's throwing money around. You know what I'm saying? So JMac, man. No, man. We had a good laugh the other night offline. It was just like, it's like, man, I didn't know what to do, man. And I was like, you just sit back and enjoy it, man. That's awesome. When I told him, I was like, from my perspective, it's good to see good people get ahead, because there's a lot of good people in this world, and probably a lot fewer of them get ahead. But I think there's a lot of people that maybe don't deserve so much to get ahead. I think their intent is just to get ahead at the expense of all else, and I hope that not to be the case. And I know that's not the case with Jay, and it's just nice to see, he said he was so fired up after that deal. Did you watch that interview that he did with Thomas Healy?
No, I didn't get a chance. I've heard about it. I heard it was that was with the trucking company, right?
It got shared all the way across the globe, brother. I mean,
nice.
dude, it's running. That video will go viral, and it'll go viral for a while. because it's such a unique interview, the opportunity to sit down with the CEO of probably the top most encouraging SPAC right now in Hyliion. You know, I just finished up, I just released tonight my my brokerage account review, which I actually disclose in there my position. So I know I was asked, hey, how much do you have? And I sent a smoke signal through the live stream to tell people what I had. So for those that picked up on it, great. But I did disclose that position there. But I thought the interview was phenomenal. It would really solidified my feeling when I was able to go through the investor profile on Hyliion, and that's really what drove me to take a nice position in the company. So not for everybody. It's a little bit. It's got a little degree of speculation, but a lot more real business that's already in place with some of the big players, Dana specifically, some of the larger orders, and all they need to do. It's a waiting game right now. To make sure that the merger goes through, which it's all submitted. I went on the SEC website and looked. If you put the ticker symbol SHLL in there, you'll see, and you can read until you're blue in the face. Good luck, because it'll put you to sleep, man. Whoever drafts those documents, man, they're wiser than I am. But I did scroll through them, and you can find out a ton of stuff in that SEC package that was submitted. So, but anyway, I had a good time, really good time. And kudos to Jay. I told him, I was like, I wouldn't have, it's not my style of investing, you know? And
I saw that he posted something about maybe potentially, I didn't really read it because that day I was really going through my newsfeed pretty quick, but maybe an interview with Elon Musk or something like that, where he was telling people to share.
Yeah, it's scheduled. He's got that thing. Yeah, he's got it. He's like, hey, Elon, you're my boy. Once you come onto my channel, and you know, actually, I think they're paying Jason. They're going to send him some money to do that interview. No, he's had so much requests. He's like, man, you can bag these big interviews. He's already done Trevor Milton with Nicola, and now Thomas Healy, Mr. Thomas Healy, I might add, with Hyliion. Why not go for Tesla and just round out the trifecta, man? You know what I'm saying?
Huge. But, I know with Elon Musk, you know, that'll be a milestone right there. So if you can do that, that'll be a blessing to him. And I saw that he said something to Jeff Bezos. I know that Jeff Bezos acquired a company, right? A self-driving company not too long ago. I think it was a couple of days ago, last week. Then I think Elon Musk put on Twitter, like, you know, copycat or something to that extent. I guess, like, you know, mocking him. I thought it was pretty funny. So
interesting.
But Amazon has the money to buy, you know, multiple companies. You know, they're just
they don't. So they're very unique as a company. They spend everything they have. So, you know, they don't have cash on hand. They have earnings that are just on. I mean, they make killer money and they spend it all on growth. That's what they do. So that's how Jeff wants to grow the company, and you know, it's an incredible company. It really is. I've invested in Amazon many times in the past, and I've sold out of it every time. And
gotta hold it, man. Hold it. Just I know it's tough.
That's a hard stock to hold. It's a hard stock. It's hard for me. It's not quite as hard as some of these SPAC plays, because for me, it's like investing without a very firm floor, in that something could go wrong. Okay. And do I think that's going to happen? No, I don't. But I typically don't like to invest that way. There are expected earnings on a quasi financial statement. The only way you can actually see the financials of the company is on the SEC website. And I did find that. And that was interesting enough, because that was not in the financials in the investor presentation that I did my video on. But I don't know. Jeez Louise. Tesla's on fire right now. Tesla is
right?
It's firing on all cylinders, man. That's a bad analogy for Tesla. It's firing on all batteries. You know, it's the data play, man. People are realizing that it's a technology company, and
I mean, I don't have Tesla, but for anybody that got Tesla in the 200s, 300s, 400s, good for you for holding on. I mean, if you're a Tesla investor, for most people, you believe in the company, and you believe in the future prospects of the company. Yeah. So I mean, I just like hearing the story. My buddy just texted me. He's like, man, I wish I would have invested in Tesla last year. I'm like, hey, I didn't know it was going to jump up that high. I didn't know too much about Tesla.
You're not
So I'm not,
investing in Tesla, are you?
no, I'm not. I don't have like any auto. I know it's not really an automobile company, it's, more than that, but I don't have I'm not investing in that. Just Facebook, Visa, Johnson and Johnson, Microsoft.
Yeah.
Microsoft just hit another record high.
Yeah.
That's I'm
Yeah.
gonna hold that long. I'm not selling that stock.
No,
Microsoft. I
you
don't need
don't.
to. I mean, it's in a tax protected account, so I'll just
Well,
leave it.
I was watching Kyle last week, I think, and he summed it up really, really well. I thought on his live stream after that they do with him and Matt, with Matt Money. He said, if you're going to invest and you're going to invest in technology, how is it that you're going to justify investing in technology and not have exposure to Microsoft and Apple and these companies that have just basically built an ecosystem around their products, and that I thought that was a really good way of framing it. They're easy companies to invest in. When they go down, you buy more. When they go up, you're proud to be an investor in the companies, right? So technology for me, it's aligned with my feeling about technology being the place that you want to be for the future. In other words, it's my favorite. So I'm very aggressive on making sure my technology exposure, with my risk profile being closer to aggressive, is as full as I can get it. I've never been to as aggressive as it calls for in the allocation model with my strategy, but I sure do try. I really do. And buying technology, I never have a problem pulling the trigger on technology, whereas some of the other sectors, I'm a little bit more like the cyclicals for sure. Industrials is one of my favorites, but I'm a little bit more scrutinizing on those companies. And financials right now, it's the same thing. Like I hit the pause button a little bit quicker on financials right now, even though I'm a bull now, but it's easy to be a bull right now because it's like the rationale is eventually it'll turn around,
Yeah, I mean, for
But
financials, if I don't have any financial stocks. If one I had to invest in will be J.P. Morgan Chase. They're the number one bank. And with technology, I mean, I wasn't surprised. Was a month or two ago when the Nasdaq had record highs because like I forget the guy's name from Motley Fool. I don't know if you ever watched Motley Fool, the Gardner
Mhm.
brothers, I believe. They
Okay.
had an interview during when the market was crashing in March, and the guy was telling him like, what do you do in this crash? Like, how do you evaluate stocks? He's like, well, winners win. Pick the stocks that have been winning. And he's talked about
Yeah.
Microsoft, Facebook, Apple, all your, Amazon, all your technology companies. He's like, winners win. And when I watched that, as a new investor, I'm learning. I told you before, I wasn't even scared in the beginning of March because I started reading books from Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger, and everything just made sense. I was like, I see why they invest when the market goes down. Because when I was little, I never knew why people I didn't know anything about the stock market because they don't teach you that in school. I mean, there's a reason why, but I always figured like, why do people invest heavy in a stock market crash? And when people kept saying like
Yeah.
millionaires are made, it didn't make sense to me. And now it makes total sense. I wish I would have learned
Yeah.
this years ago. I would have traded nights out in the bar and clubs to invest in a Roth IRA. But you know what? I'm still
Yeah.
young, and
Yeah, you are.
and the good thing is at least I'm learning now, and I tell certain friends. And actually, I met a construction worker when I was delivering a 23-year-old. We just I don't know what happened. We just got into a conversation of Amazon, and I brought up stocks, and I told him about a Roth IRA, and he never heard about it. And when I told
Yeah.
and a lot of people don't. I've never heard about a Roth IRA. Those are things that
Yeah.
you either learn from somebody that has it, or for
Yes.
me, I ended up going on YouTube and learning about it. And I
What
wish I would have learned about it a long time ago.
what you just hit on is what I maybe not so elegantly tried to disclose in the first 5 minutes of my introduction. That when I was trying to explain to bring in awareness pieces for people that don't have never heard of this stuff before. And I know there's people out there, thousands of people. And I think I made a comment, if not last Wednesday on Jay's live stream, it might have been mine last Friday. Everybody in this community is way ahead of the game, way ahead. So when you're out there amongst your friends and networks, etc., that type of thing, and you have the opportunity, just remember bring them onto the channel for sure. Tell them about it if you want, but invite them, man. Sometimes that referral means the most to me than anything, because now we've got to know each other, Junior. So I'd feel a heck of a lot more obligated, I think, if you said, hey, Ryan, I talked to this guy. Can you help him out? The answer would be yes anyway, but at least you've done the diligence and kind of breaking that ice a little bit, because some people will say, yeah, it's for me. I want to get involved. And then the emotion kind of dies out a little bit 5 minutes after you're done talking. They really have to want to do this gig. But I just want to say hello to Ann Ho. She's here. She says she's finally joining the stream from out west. So very cool. Welcome to you. Take all the best to you and your family. Very cool. But
I think the biggest thing is too, like, the reason why I got really excited with the stock market as well. I think part of it, not all of it, but part of it is if somebody's really good with money. Like I've always been good with saving, right? I've done like the 52-week challenge. I've always, plan. I'm a big planner for the future. So that's why I guess with the stock market, I'm excited, because I'm not one of those guys that like panics right away. Like I prepare myself for the future, right? Saving for rent a month in advance. So I've always had those fundamentals. And I think for people that have that, I think when they learn about the stock market, it's actually a boost, because it's like, wow, like I can have this money work for me. Whereas we're so programmed to put a large amount of money in a regular bank like Chase or Bank of America. We don't get anything. And I think the sad thing is that, and it happens to all of us, because we don't know. We're working our ass off. We're putting 40, 50, 60 hours a week sometimes.
That's
and
right.
The problem is we're trading so much time for money. There was a guy, a Wall Street trapper that I listened to, and the biggest thing he says that wealthy people don't do is trade money for time. Now I know most of us do have to work because we have bills. You as well have have a family, have children. But what you're doing now is you're setting yourself up for the future where you don't have to work at 65, 68, 70. You don't have to bust your ass. You have these fundamentals now, and you're teaching people. And that's what I love about your channels, because you're not doing, hey, invest in Hertz or something to get like 500%. It's dangerous, because when people sell out, you're left holding a bankruptcy bag. You're telling people, hey, fundamentals, be patient. And, it's one of those things where, like, I wish more people learn. I know why they don't teach that in school, because they need, they want to program us, because we're a consumer country. So they want to program as much people to buy as much, to go out and buy, and not learn about stock market, right? It's always for the wealthy. That's what I always thought the stock market was for, people with millions of dollars and thousands of dollars. And now you don't have to have $1 million to invest. You don't have to have thousands. You can start off with $100, learn, and then as you're learning, adapt yourself.
Well,
don't spend as much.
The key piece to what you just said, was right there at the end. Continue to learn. You've heard me talk about this as being evolving. I think once you make investing part of your life, it is just that. It becomes part of your discipline, and it can affect a lot of different spending decisions that you make. It can affect how you plan for a vacation. It can affect how it is that you go and do grocery shopping. It affects how much you justify going out to a restaurant and spending your money on a night out dinner, right? So as a country, man, we're jacked up, okay? We spend way too much money. We do. And I just think if people can look at this as just being an aspect of their total overall financial discipline, then they can start to really get a baseline formed, and that baseline can grow and evolve. Because I've said many times, I make X amount in my salary. There should be no way in hell that I have the net worth that I do. The only reason that I do, and I hope this really comes across in my message, is because of my mental discipline. That's the only reason. It is. It's not because I'm cocky. It's not because I'm arrogant. It's not for any reason for that. It's not. And it really has to do with the fact that I've wanted it for a very, very long time. And the investing priority is up there on the priority scale for me. Some people really do put vacations and blowing all their paycheck. I've had people try to justify to me every which way under the sun. Hey, look, we're all going to die someday. Let's just spend it all let's just spend it all and have fun with our money. And I tell you what, you're setting yourself up for some major, major regret later on down the line when you look back over your life and say, Jesus, I could have probably tried a little bit harder and not been such not, cavalier with your money,
Well, I'll give you a quick example. I have a manager at my job. He does options trading, right? For I believe E-Trade. So we'll talk about stocks, and he's like, "Yeah, I did a 10,000 here for a put option," because I'm not familiar with options and anything like that. So a lot of the language I'm not familiar with. But the quick story is he shorted the market, right? And this is when the market, I believe, a couple weeks ago was still going high, and he was trying to short it because he's like, it's going too high, right? So he's trying to short the market. And all of a sudden, he was losing money. He pulled out of the deal, lost $10,000, and it was that Thursday when the market dropped to 5%, I believe. The Dow dropped to 5 to 6%, and I was like, "Well, what happened?" He's like, "Oh, I panicked and I got out." And I told him, I was like, "Why don't you just hold on to a stock for the long term, like Visa?" He's like, "I don't know if I'm going to live for tomorrow." That was his answer. "I don't know if I'm going to live tomorrow." So his mindset is like, just try to get the big bucks now, right, within a day or two, and it's just it's a dangerous mindset because we don't know when we're going to pass away, but why not?
That's one excuse I get. I get excuses all the time where people set up these false barriers as to why they can't succeed in the market. I'm not smart enough. I don't have enough money. I don't save enough. I can't set a budget. I can't. And the mind is extremely powerful, but it's also extremely vulnerable. I think that's a fair statement. And on the vulnerable side of the house, you can get yourself to kind of believe anything. And if there's one little piece of insight that I want to transcend to my audience, it's that I full well believe wholeheartedly in my heart and in my mind that I'm successful now, and I've felt that way for many, many years. Now, if you want to call that arrogant or naive to the fact that I don't have a six-figure job, then go ahead. It's fine. But those little pieces of motivation, those dreams, if you might call them, that's really what keeps it going. And a lot of my insight in sharing my message is hoping that others out there feel the same as me. Because with all the negativity going on in the world right now, I think people need to look inward a lot more than they look outward. And that's the God's honest truth, man. That's the way I feel about my assessment of the world right now.
There's a channel creator, I forget his name. He's a 70-year-old gentleman, and he talked about when people say that they can't do something or they have that negative aspect of not going forward or something, right? And he's talking about investing, and he says that you got to get the bad roommate out of your head, right? Because sometimes you have this voice in your head that's saying that you can't do this or you're not good enough, and you got to eliminate that. And he's awesome because he's 7 years old and he's investing in Facebook and Google, and usually not to do age discrimination. Now the older people like to obviously preserve their capital and put major money in bonds, but he's going to like the tech companies, and it's an awesome story. And thank you, Miguel, appreciate it, man. Thank you, that was nice. But it was I gotta find out his name. I gotta find it on my phone. He's a YouTube channel creator, and it's awesome video. And but pretty much what he says is to get the bad roommate out of your head, because sometimes we have blinders and we can't open up the blinders to see peripherals and to see what's anything's possible. I don't make big money at all, but I was knowledgeable enough to research and rolled over my old 401k, which over to my traditional.
So I mentioned the piece about not having enough money because that's one of the most common, I call it an excuse, but for somebody who offers that, it's more than just an excuse. It may be very real to those folks if they're rubbing pennies together and having trouble making bills, and things like that. It's a very real solution, or it's a very real problem. The thing about it is each of those problems has a solution, and that is typically what I try to drive the message toward, in that, look, if you're opting not to invest by always defaulting to not paying yourself, by paying yourself $0, then you're really missing out on so much more. And that's when I bump it from $0 to $25. that little bridge right there for somebody can be like, wow, you know what? I always thought that I didn't have enough, but man, I can get started with 25 bucks. Yeah, the answer is yes, you can. And that's a message that transcends the masses. Like most people need to hear that. Like, what really? Tell me more. Is there an account that I can invest with that? Yeah, all the major brokers, like you said, Junior, the opportunity now, it's free to invest. It's freaking free.
I
Okay.
know. I came at a good
And,
time.
the funny thing about this is, and I'll just completely be honest and transparent, I get to come on here and I get a ton of payment in a lot of different ways. This is one small payment, Junior, you coming on the live stream and saying hello. I love it. I love it. I love engaging with this audience. That's another payment. But I do make some monetary compensation through YouTube. And it's amazing to me how I get paid a little bit to do a side hustle and offer a topic that I absolutely love. And at the end of the day, to be able to transcend and communicate this message to the masses who might not understand what I just said, yes, if you think you're in that camp of somebody that doesn't have the money to start, recalibrate a little bit, man. You'd be amazed at how you can find that extra 25. What's going to end up happening is you're going to end up evolving to a new place where it's going to start to make more sense for you. And you're going to start to look at that and look to improve upon it. How can I improve this? How can I get a little bit more, seek out a little bit more strategic edge? How can I get a little bit more of an advantage? This has gone from a non-priority in my life to now a little priority. How can I bump it up to a little bit more of a mid-tier priority? Because this is interesting. This has got my attention. And that's where we're winning the battle for people, for sure.
And you're offering, like I mentioned before, good stocks. You're not offering NAT or Planet 13 like some YouTube channel creators are. Like, what's his name? Jeremy he was recommending Planet 13. I think it's trading at $1 or something. And I'm like, man, this. I know why he's doing it, but it's like it's dangerous because a lot of young kids are gonna just dump a whole bunch of money in, maybe $1,000, $500, and I don't think it's a stock that's gonna go anywhere. I don't even know the balance sheet, and when I hear $1, I'm like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah. So I'll say something extremely rude, and I'm not a rude person. I'm actually super, super kind. But usually when somebody brings that channel up, I usually say who, because I don't really care. I don't spend 1 second of my time anymore in that ecosystem.
Well, I'm not gonna lie. He did. That's the only reason why I looked into Facebook was because of him. But I mean, the thing is,
no, you can.
Yeah, oh yeah,
and anybody else here can go out there. I'm just saying from my perspective, mine, and I'm entitled to my opinion, right? I am typically a lot better off when I focus on my project and my message and my end user. And Jason knows how careful I was with that Hyliion video. I admitted on Wednesday, I made it 22 minutes for a reason. Because I knew if I made an eight-minute video, I would probably capture a large amount of an audience of people who would invest in the company and do zero due diligence, zero. And good on me for acknowledging. Maybe I over-acknowledge that level of responsibility, but I'll continue to drive on with that ethical twist. I don't care. We do have an obligation to just not push out content at all stops, right? Like this is all about me going to the moon, and I don't really care about my end result because I can fall back on the framework and the premonition that I'm giving advice and saying that people need to do diligence on their own. No, man, no. People really need to understand that if they don't know anything about the stock market, that you can be pretty vulnerable. And remember the vulnerability piece. Like I feel like I'm right on that. That those people can really be easily influenced, and especially with money. That's the unfortunate part is when people are really looking to put something to work in a very genuine manner, and they come across somebody who's very, very exciting and very, very charismatic. And it's like, whoa, man, this is incredible. I can be charismatic too. And it's going to translate to my bottom line. They'll find out really, really quick that it just doesn't work that way. That's all.
Dangerous, like you got to do your research. And, and then I wanted to give a rest in peace to the gentleman, the young man that, that had that took his own life a couple of weeks ago from Robinhood, I believe. And
That's right.
that story touched me because I was watching I believe his name is Jeff Rose. I was watching his channel and he talked about it, and he talked about like, like that's why he wants to talk to his kids about the importance of not just investing in stocks, but like the fundamentals. And because I think he was doing options, so I'm not familiar with options. I know that it's one of those, like, I guess day trading in a sense, but I'm not big on that. But it's one of those, like, if I have kids, I want to teach them, hey, just take your time with a stock. Just use, maybe a traditional Roth IRA. If you have a taxable, good quality stocks. And it's just unfortunate that somebody had that much, I guess, access to money, or maybe lost. So I don't know how that worked, but that was unfortunate because you
Well,
don't ever want to.
they applied for credit through Robinhood, and they were granted credit through Robinhood. I don't know the insights of how they granted that much credit to an investor, but I'm not a fan of Robinhood. I think we'll see how this thing rolls out. But somebody lost their life, and that's something that we really have to take seriously. It's too bad, because finances can be very, very rewarding, but it's not one of those things where you just have to. If people discover stock investing and they think that they've discovered something that nobody else has discovered, right? And they internalize it in a way to be like, I was going to pursue this career, but I don't need that career now. I've got the stock market. I can pick winners, and I can just retire and drive that Lamborghini like everybody else does on YouTube. And that's a message that I don't support. I just think there's a much more careful way to enter in and become a participant in the stock market that's going to be so much more rewarding anyway. If you understand compounding interest, the video that I'm going to release tomorrow is how many years to become a millionaire. And it's going to speak to those investors that are 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 years old with a nice 40-year time horizon to invest. If you hear that message, there will be more of a potential to make more millionaires from that video that I'm going to release tomorrow than any level of speculation or any level of get rich overnight or any level of self-justification that you can go through to think that you found the next best thing in the stock market, when in fact all you really need to do is find yourself to some nice mix of growth and value stocks and maybe some ETFs if that's your style. That's it. There's no secret sauce. And I know for a lot of people that's just not sexy enough, but at least it's closer to the truth than the sexy stuff. And this is the stuff that people need to hear. They really do.
Well, nothing, and yeah, I don't know. I never understood the mindset of boring stocks. If it makes money, it's not boring to me. But I love making money. So if I know that it's cash flow, increased dividends for 50 years, 25 years, aristocrat, I'm good to go. Good balance sheet, very little debt. It's just, but it takes the right mindset. I always told you before anything is the mindset. And once you have that good mindset, then you can proceed on to the next step, because it is steps. You can't just put, if you have 5,000 as a young investor, like, take your time. You don't have to put 5,000 all at once, right? Scale in, especially if you're doing like an ETF or maybe a certain, you can take your time, dollar cost average every week, so things like that.
There's a good friend of the community here, Minds in Motion, as well. I got halfway through the thread with my shout out. So, man,
Florida's always hot.
Florida is always hot, man, for sure. It's humid, man. God dang. But Minds in Motion, very cool. Also running a phenomenal channel, man. It's great to see you. Great to see you. Happy 4th to you and yours. Pretty rocking. So I was going to catch a piece of that. What were you talking about, Junior? You had me on a thought there that I wanted to mention. You remember?
What I was just talking about now? What was I just saying about the even though people say certain stocks might be boring, like it still makes money, cash flow. I think that's what.
Here's the thing, man. Like, so the new investor has $500, $5,000, whatever to invest. Okay, let's just say, and they invest in one of those stocks. In either case, it's doomed. Here's why: they lose money and they're shocked off of the stock market and they never invest again. Bad, right? Or what's sometimes even worse is they take that 500, 1,000, 5,000, and they make a ton of money. And the nature by which they make that money is either tax protected or not. I can tell you for the 10 million people who are investing in Robinhood, none of them are tax protected. Not any of them. Okay. So it's a nice group think. It's a nice herd behavior. And quite frankly, I just, that's why I'm so down on the platform. Now, it can be used for good, but in the hands of an uneducated investor, it can really, really set folks up for an extremely rude awakening. And so in the situation where they make money, the problem is you think you can duplicate that over and over and over again, and duplicating that level. I mean, I did a video a couple weeks ago about ARK Invest, and I compared it to the S&P 500, and I did it for a reason. I had a very interesting comment this week from a financial planner, and good on this individual for actually saying, hey, Ryan, I'm a financial planner, but here's my twist on it. And it's interesting to me. So Catherine Wood is the head of ARK Investments, and their management team does a phenomenal job in active management. Okay. Their results cannot be argued with. They're very, very good. The problem is where you start to take a product like that and it starts to become applied across the active management spectrum. Because if you look at all the thousands of active management out there and you lump them into one category, right, the majority of them fail. Okay, so Kathy is in that top 4% that we talk about, and she's been able to stay there, and she does it in an incredible manner. For example, ARKW, which is their flagship ETF, they own Tesla, is about a 10% holding in the top 10 of that ETF, but they trade in and out of the position. So they generate alpha on top of the existing Tesla holding. And they trade on momentum, they trade on news, they trade on whatever they feel like they can get a strategic entry on, and then rebuy the shares back to always keep that core position in. And that is an exception to the rule. It's not the norm. And when people really start to understand that active management is extremely expensive and it really doesn't provide you a strategic advantage over the long term. And I found it interesting how this financial planner wanted to put the conversation in a box, that box being a 5-year box. And of course, over the last 5 years, ARKW has outperformed. I believe it's generating 34% per year. Very impressive, right? If you actively compare right now, the VOO, which has gone through a shock systemically to the market, it's an unfair comparison. And I knew it was an unfair comparison going in. The issue is I'm not looking to get people aware of the stock market for the next 5 years. I'm looking to set them up for the rest of their life. And if they fancy some generational wealth, that may come into the conversation as well. So discussing the comparison and talking about active management as if that's something that individual investors need to pursue all the time, I just don't agree with that. I really don't, because I do believe ARK is the exception to the rule, not the norm. I really don't. So just
what's their expense ratio? Do you know what their expense rate is? It like kind of
0.76, which yeah. So over the short term, the expense becomes less bearable, and that's why the conversation was coined in a box, right? I can't argue that the expense means that much over the course of a 5 or even a 10-year period, right? But is the goal to own an ARKW over the long term? I would say no, not for any investor. Okay. Because, over the long term, if you're expecting those rates of return to hold up, I think you're probably pipe dreaming a little bit. All right. But if you want to get exposure into those higher beta names, the higher growth names, some biopharma names, the Tesla, Amazon is held in ARKW. It's an interesting fund. It doesn't hold a lot of holdings in there, and it is actively managed. So I'm just not one to trust active management as a whole. And I think you'd be a lot better off just taking the safer, diversified, low expense route and live to fight another day. Because if they don't uphold their outperformance into the bargain, you're stuck holding a very, very highly leveraged ETF for the long term, and it can get you into some trouble, and it's going to cost you that higher expense. So
I have in my text I have VTI. So I know VOO is like the the popular one for a lot of people. Obviously it's the top 500 companies, and I like VTI because they have not just large cap but mid cap and small cap companies. I believe it's 3,500 holdings, and they average pretty good. I think we're almost pretty much 10% per year. So especially for any new investors that don't want to maybe look into certain individual stocks. VTI is a really good index, and VYM too. I looked into VYM. That's the Vanguard High Yield, right? ETF, VYM.
Yep, that's my largest holding is VYM. Hey Jay, would you mind commenting to this? On's got a question about warranties, and I'd appreciate it if you'd just at her and give her a quick explanation as to the rundown on warrants. I looked into them as well, and I opted not to go with the warrant for no particular reason. I just didn't. So very cool. Says the SPAC Master Jay. Shout out. Thank you, Stephen. Appreciate it. Yeah. That's awesome. That's what I'm talking about. It's the 4th of July weekend, man. You know what I'm saying? And you work hard. You work hard, man. It tastes better when you work hard.
Oh yeah.
Right?
That's one of my favorites. The Flying Dog. This is this is a blood orange. I like the other one. It's a tropical, biatch word. I don't want to say it. No, you're good. You're good. Well,
how the hell do you stay so fit drinking that stuff, man? I drink one and I gain like 10 pounds, man.
It's like me and my girlfriend, we work out after work. We, even though we can't go to the gym, we, work out in the driveway and, gotta stay and eat right too. I eat a lot of seafood. So
do you really?
Yeah. Sea scallops. Love sea scallops. Pan sear it. Good to go.
I think there's that's part of the discussion that we don't talk about enough is those aspects of your life, man. Like I just had the gym open this week for the first time. And I'm sore all over. I was so happy to get back in there, dude. I felt like Rocky, man. I was just like, dude, this is incredible, man. I was punching the bag, and I was like so happy, Like it's amazing what makes you happy. But I'm addicted to working out, and I'm addicted to how I feel when I work out. So when I don't get to do that, I feel myself getting a little bit more irritable, and it's just like God, a piece of me is removed. So I'm super stoked on that. So, but.
Try to work out and drink a lot of water. There's little things because especially when you get older, a lot of things get very sore, like your joints, knees. My knees get very sore often, so I try to just work out.
Junior, my man, I got to close it down. I got a couple minutes. I'm gonna take it to do my outro, brother. Listen to you and yours. Happy 4th, man. Thank you so much for being part of this community, man. It's we're gonna build this out, and it's cool because this thing is gonna be with us, I think, the rest of our lives. So it's just an opportunity as we grow together, as slow or as fast as we need to grow. When you come across those opportunities, man, bring them onto the channel because to be honest with you and to be real, that's kind of where I put the most amount of value in those referrals. So I would ask you if you've given that opportunity, man, to provide that referral for me. And that's payment to me, no doubt.
I appreciate it, Ryan. Thank you again for having me on, and enjoy your 4th of July weekend with your family, and stay safe out there.
Will do. You do this. You do the same, my friend. Take it easy, man. Very cool, man. So I want to wish everybody a happy 4th of July. Those that have come on here, it was a great conversation. It was kind of all over the place. That's how I like it. Thank you so much for everybody making their way in here. If I missed anybody on the shout outs, I do apologize. I think I got to everybody. I'm actually at the very bottom of the stream. So I know there was some discussion I saw just through the corner of my eye. If you do have the opportunity to hit the thumbs up, I think it does make a difference, I think. But this is our opportunity to engage. This is our opportunity for me to give back to you guys specifically. But if you do know people out there, I'm providing this as an opportunity. I leave the door open. All you have to do is walk through it. And this is just a small 60-minute insight to what products we put through on the Independent Investor channel. Tomorrow, how many years to be a millionaire? It's going to be a good one. And then we'll also do the weekly dividend review. You guys will be satisfied to know where that shook out. That'll be coming out Sunday. Those are already filmed, already ready to go. So I appreciate you guys understanding. In the last couple days, I basically just took them off and is spending some serious time with the family. I'll be on the beach most of the day on Sunday, and I would encourage each and every one of you guys to take a step back, take a pause from investing if you can, take a deep breath, and we'll engage again first of next week when the market opens again. We'll be back next Friday, 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time for the Independent Investor Channel live stream. As usual, guys, keep it safe, keep it real. We'll catch you next Friday. Thank you so much, guys. Take it easy.